It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast, talking property as we do 7 days a week, as heard on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Amazon. Saturday morning, June the 15th around Australia. And as property prices rise, many first home buyers, now they're turning to apartments instead of houses. And the maths is quite simple, isn't it? It's cheaper, it's more affordable, you can get into the property ladder more easily, and best part is that you have a smaller mortgage. And the number of bedrooms significantly affects the sale price, raising the question, is it better to buy a cheaper studio or a one-bedroom apartment immediately, or save for a 2-bedroom unit? For example, in Melbourne, a 20% deposit on a one-bedroom apartment costs $74,000, while for a 2-bedroom unit, it's $120,000. That's according to Domain's house price report. So with that said, let's catch up with Melbourne-based agent Torsten Kasper from Chisholm Gamon Elwood in Melbourne. And a very good morning to you, Torsten. Welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast.
And good morning to you.
So you were just telling me that you've been around for a while there in Melbourne, 20 years. You're the principal there.
Correct, yes. We've got an office in Elwood and down the road at Port Melbourne. So the municipality of Port Phillip, we sort of bookend both ends of that precinct.
Gee, you would have seen a number of things happen in the property cycles, over the last 20 years. It's probably hard to keep up with the last 4 or 5.
Well, it's been an interesting phase. So just the redevelopment of a lot of the strip centres, as far as the commercial retail operations of cafes and that regeneration, particularly down at Port Melbourne. Elwood had a vibrancy for quite a few years. Certainly COVID, as you'd be aware, really affected the Melbourne market. So for those of us that were lucky enough to live Bayside, having that waterfront really was a lifesaver.
Tell us a little bit about Elwood. What's the population of that area now?
Yeah, so we would have roughly about 8,500 residents in the suburb. There's a mixture of high density, medium density and family housing. The most prevalent apartment styles are Art Deco, so the 1930s, 1940s period apartments. And then we had a big burst of construction in the 60s and 70s as well.
Okay, and so let's just have a look at the price gap as we're talking about these 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. It has grown, you touched on that, post-pandemic due to the increased demand for more space for hybrid work styles, but you were saying that that's not necessarily the case where you are.
Yeah, so look, Elwood's a little bit different in the sense there's a lot of single professionals. So the gap between the 1-bedroom and the 2-bedroom apartments is not as big as it is in Sydney. So you'll find that people are making the choice to have either a larger 1-bedroom, wanting to get into the market now. There's clearly also another thing at play in the Melbourne market with our compliance rules and land tax increases. A lot of rental apartments are coming online. So that's creating terrific value for the 2-bedroom marketplace. So the gap between the 1-bedroom and the 2 bedrooms has actually decreased in the last 12 months as a result of that oversupply.
Well, that's certainly different, that's for sure. There might be a few people listening from outside the state going, well, maybe we should sort of consider a 2-bedder in Elwood. Now, long-term planning, of course, when you're buying is crucial. But as a frequent mover, high transactional costs are always something to keep in mind for people.
It's a genuine concern. The more transactions you have, the more that you're paying to the State Revenue Office with stamp duty. So certainly, I think one of the things that COVID did for a lot of our marketplace was give them clarity as to what they wanted. The one thing that you can't account for, which a 2-bedroom does protect you in, is if you do meet that person and you're wanting to have a bit more space, either a guest room or a home office, or looking to start a family, clearly the 2-bedroom option is going to future-proof you for a further period of time. So I guess it's a matter of the balance between need and location, and that's what we're finding with a number of our buyers, that they're choosing to either stay out of the market for a little bit longer based on the fact that there's steadiness in pricing. So it's not, as you have in some of the Sydney market and the Queensland market at the moment, seem to have a bit more momentum in them. So there's not that fear of missing the market at the moment because of that oversupply that we talked about. So you are finding people holding back a little. It is a very, very good time to be looking for a 2-bedroom, giving you that extra space at the moment because of the number of apartments that are competing against one another in this point in time.
Yeah, and from this Domain article, Asti Mariasmo from PRD, she says that the pipeline in terms of new projects being constructed, about 90% of them are units and apartments. So you're no doubt seeing that happening in your area as well, are you?
It certainly is, right along the inner Bayside corridor. So there's a lot of multi-density apartment buildings under construction, and that will be coming, and that have commenced. That will be coming online. So that flow through you'll find there was a bit of a lag effect because of COVID, and also a bit of the funding crisis for developers at the moment. Certainly, we're seeing a lot of those expected to come online early next year.
Yeah, multi-density, that will be music, of course, to a lot of people's ears. That's what we need, and a lot more of it. Well, don't go away, because when we come back, we'll be taking a look at renovations next.
Listen to in-depth discussions with industry leaders on investing options, understanding different suburbs with insider perspectives and exclusive tips.
Hey, coming up on Monday, we are going to be talking about your well-being and some of the top areas for well-beings in those cities and regions that rank higher than others. It's called the Wellbeing Index, and it's been carried out by SGS Economics and Planning. It's interesting stuff because the index evaluates regions based on the economy, the income, the employment, housing, health, equality is another, community balance, as well as the environment. And if you have a look at the high house prices, often it correlates with the higher well-being, as seen in Noosa. And if you look at Noosa, of course, at the moment, the median house price there around 1.25 million, the Gold Coast over $1 million, and Brisbane at 1.11 million. So we will take a look at that, your well-being, and those particular suburbs and areas that are outranking and outpacing others.
Don't navigate the real estate market alone. Let us help guide you in the world of real estate every day. Make better informed decisions with the latest news and insights.
And it's another real estate weekend. It's a Saturday morning, and don't forget you can join the conversation by emailing us any question or suggestion that you might have. Our email address is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. Torsten is back with us from Melbourne talking property, and you were just saying before the break that a lot of the stock in your suburb are older apartments. So what is happening in the space of vendors selling renovated properties as opposed to those who have not renovated?
So the effect of the increase of building costs and labour costs has really created quite a gap between the unrenovated and the renovated. In years gone past, people would look to value add and buy the unrenovated, but there's a bit of a fear factor there as to whether they can find the right tradesperson, whether it'll come in on budget. So what we're finding is that anything that is renovated has got a real depth of buyer inquiry, and hence the results are far more fruitful for those vendors. So, we're undertaking with a lot of our clients that have got some slightly older apartments that might need some a little tweaking, to actually invest in that tweaking so that the average buyer can at least move in straight away and not feel the necessity to actually have to do those works, because otherwise those vendors are being punished at the end result.
What about that finance approval? Now, that is sort of like quicksand. Sometimes it is moving at such a rate, people get approved and then that approval runs out. It's still quite a frustrating time, I think, for many buyers.
And that's a really good point. There's two aspects to that. One is waiting too long to find the perfect apartment. Sometimes you're not going to find that absolute unicorn. So sometimes it's better to actually find a great apartment and make it the perfect apartment once you're in it. So that you're not missing out on those timelines with the pre-approvals. And we've had a few buyers miss out because the reality is once they go for a second round of pre-approvals, the actual their capacity is actually shocked them in the fact that it's come back to the tune of 25 to 50,000 in some cases. So if you've got those buyers that are out there, it's something they need to focus on to make sure that adjustment isn't going to hurt them at the end of the day. Because of the timelines of finance approvals, we're tending to actually take most of our apartments to a private sale, where in previous years we're very much an auction-orientated area. And the reason for that is that we want to be able to have those buyers that have a subject to finance clause be able to participate, whereas with an auction, it's an unconditional sale, so they're not allowed to compete in that environment. So you're finding where it would be 70 to 75% of our apartment stock would be going to auction. It's actually flipped the other way. We would say 30 to 35% is going to auction and the rest is a private sale or expression of interest.
Now, before I let you go, I have to ask you what you think is likely to happen on Tuesday with the RBA. Of course, very, very important decision that is coming up. I say that because there seems to be a bit of a split between the economists at the moment and the banks. Some are saying expect a 0.25% rise. Some are saying no, the RBA will probably stay the same and just keep it on pause mode. What do you reckon?
Look, I don't know whether this is hope or strategy, but I'm backing in the pause. I just think from on the ground, there's a lot of pain, both in the strip centres and also what the feedback that we're getting for buyers and capacity. And I think the approach with the interest rate rises has had the desired effect, and I think the Reserve Bank will be sensible enough to actually have a wait and see policy this time round.
All right, well, not too long to wait, of course. Torsten, great to chat to you on our Saturday morning. I know that you've got a very big team of 65 people underneath you, so no doubt it is a busy time, and enjoy your weekend. Thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast.
And thanks for having me, and have a great weekend.
Gain insights with exclusive conversations from real estate professionals about buying, selling and investing across Australia.
He looked at all the properties that haven't changed hands for the last 10 years. He wrote handwritten letters to them, dropped them in their letterboxes. He got 2 responses, and now he's actually ended up buying one of those properties.
Perth, Brisbane and Adelaide recorded the strongest price growth in May. We've talked about it in keeping with the trend pretty much seen for much of the past 2 years. These markets do remain the strongest for annual growth, with, of course, Perth prices up 20.58% over the past year.
Yeah, and a lot of it's only really playing catch-up, Craig. Now, we probably, if we went back sort of 1.5 years, we were 28% undervalued. We were sitting there at about 6th highest in Australia. We should normally be in Perth about 4th highest in Australia. We're only getting back to that spot now. We're probably still 8% off that.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.